Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we hit you up with three or four interesting tech stories in the news. Got some fun science stuff for you today and get you on your way in about 20 minutes. If you have a story you'd like us to follow, Creation Station at broward.org comes to us and we'll try and fit it on the show next week. Today, we have Michael Bryant from Community Engagement. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Life is good. Life is good. I'm out at the South Regional Library today, helping out with the creation station out here at this space. They've got a little podcasting booth and all the nice stuff. And I apparently wore a ghost shirt today because I'm like glowing in the lights that are in here. So,
I see that. You know, you should say that's your aura. That's your
oh yeah, there
aura.
we go.
Yeah.
It's a weird look, and we're gonna play with some lighting in here later on about this. But yeah, it's a thing. So you've been on the show before, but for people who haven't seen it, noticed it, tell us, what do you do for community engagement?
Oh, thank you, Bob. I am the Adult Services Coordinator. I oversee all of the adult programs in the entire library system. That includes in information services, where you go to the library and you're often asking for, do you have this book? Can you help me on the computer here? And so the staff there is often librarians. And so I oversee the adult services across the library system. I work with a awesome team of regional programmers where we help to develop programs throughout the county as we try to align our themes together so that we can have some commonalities across different libraries. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
And then you've got the whole summer learning thing coming up.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, don't steal my thunder. That's going. I'm going to promote that at the end. But yes, yes. We're going to try to get thousands of people to register for the summer learning program. We want the entire family, adults, teens, children. We want the entire family to participate in the summer learning program. And I'll mention that again later.
It's not all about kids. But speaking of not kids,
Yes.
this is a pretty cool story.
Hmm.
Longer ago than either of us were alive, he was Ed Dwight finally was picked. So if you haven't, this story has been all over the place because it wasn't the space stuff. People send it to me. So the first Black astronaut that was chosen for the space program back in the 60s finally went up into space this week. And he went up in Blue Origin. And so, one, it was a nice, good recognition for him as being the first African-American astronaut chosen for the program back under Kennedy, and finally getting a chance to fly now. And now that he's finally flying now, he is now the oldest person to ever fly up into space.
Yeah, he broke William Shatner's record,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it's a really cool thing. Two of the interesting, more hidden highlights of this story was one where he talked about, I want to do this, but it's not going to be that important. And then when he comes back and he was like, I lied. This was important.
Yes, yes. Yeah, if I recall correctly, as I was going through it, because I think we actually had two articles about the same story, and I think he mentioned about this being, oh yeah, this is like my bucket list or something like that, something to that effect as well. So he was excited about it, and I think I see a redemption story in it as well. Where he had an opportunity, he tried out in the '60s, and he was not selected, but his time came, several years later, where he got a chance to go up into outer space. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he had a very good full life,
Mhm.
and now he's
Yes.
been able to put this, nice ending to it. And one of the other things that I've only seen covered in the one article, and that's why I wanted to share both articles. They're in the show notes for everybody, just like we always do, so that anybody can go in there and check up and follow along on these. We have, there's 3 parachutes. Everybody's seen the traditional pictures of the capsules coming down. There's the 3 big drag chutes, as they're called, that help break it as it comes down. One of them did not open.
Hmm.
So they landed with only 2 chutes,
Hmm.
which some people took to mean, oh no, this almost failed. And it turns out NASA's backup plan is to have 2 chutes.
Hmm.
Their backup, just in case anything goes wrong, is 3
Hmm.
chutes. So they
Hmm.
can actually land with only one of them when the capsules come back. So
Hmm.
when we do other talks about how long it's taking for like Artemis to get up there and to get those capsules ready and stuff, that's one of the issues is they are building so many redundancies in, not for the failure of the maybe thing we have to go to a backup, but the failure of the backups also can fail and we still will be safe and get everything back.
Yes, yes. I mean, you see that in a lot of systems. As I watch a lot of the documentaries about airplanes, and you see some of the systems that they put in place, the backup systems. And so with this right here, it's designed. I think it was 2 chutes. It's a design for it to function
It's
with
got 3 and it can actually land with only 1. So it's
Okay.
got 2 chutes as backups.
Okay, because I think because when I was reading, I thought it said 2, but either way, the thing about it is that you have a great opportunity for, just kind of to demonstrate how important this thinking it out, planning it, to make sure that these things are, one thing doesn't fail and causes a catastrophic event just
Yeah.
because one thing failed. And I think during the announcement, when the device was landing, the one of the announcers was talking about that, and he brought it up that it was designed as a fail safe where it was safe to land in the capacity that it did land with the 2 chutes.
Yeah, it's amazing things. And speaking of failures, thank you for that segue. Apple had a fairly big failure this week,
Hmm.
kind of unusual for them. They had a software update, and this only affects certain iPhones that updated to the now previous update. They've put out an emergency patch
Hmm.
since,
Hmm.
where photos that you deleted came back.
Hmm.
I know you're not, and I'm not an
No,
Apple person.
no, I'm not.
So, we're not on this iOS thing. And
Hmm.
it was what ended up happening is that the database that tracks all the files on your phone
Hmm.
became corrupted, and some photos that were in that database and delete after 30 days and delete permanently, quote unquote, off your phone,
Hmm.
didn't get deleted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
and they talked about the fixing the bug and issuing the update to help address that issue. They called it a rare issue, but I think some of the people, as the article indicated, was not comfortable with the fact that it seems like iPhone or Apple's was very silent
yeah,
regarding it, and so that was one of the complaints. But too, the article discussed how there's a fine line where, okay, with Apple, how much do you divulge, how much do you say, because the more you give as far as maybe some of that information, does that now create some other vulnerability within your network and your ecosystem? And so it's that really fine line,
yeah,
where you have how much you give, how much you don't give, and so on and so on.
yeah. And like you said, how much of that information is stuff that you want to keep private because it's your
Mhm.
proprietary
Yeah.
secret
Hmm.
sauce, that's how your stuff works, versus revealing to people, okay, you took this potentially embarrassing photo and you deleted it, but it's still on your phone, and we didn't
Hmm.
tell you that it could still be on your phone
Yes.
years later.
Yes.
Which
And
was
as I
my thing, is like, the database is supposed to delete it after 30 days. Okay, so it's some weird thing happens, and so stuff I deleted within the last 30 days becomes visible.
mhm.
Stuff that I deleted years ago really should be gone.
Well, and that's one of the things I thought about too. You're absolutely correct. When, a reasonable person, as the article talked about, would expect something that they deleted to stay deleted. But I think sometimes as consumers, our best practices, especially in this digital world, is to assume that it's not truly deleted.
Yeah.
That's really sad that someone would have that experience where you delete something and the thing just keeps popping back up, and you're like, well, why is it not being deleted? And at the same time, we probably should assume that someone somewhere out there could probably pull it up and retrieve that,
Yeah.
wherever that
Once it's
data
on the
is.
internet, it's on the internet. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that is the thing. And to be clear, the stuff that reappeared was not internet things. These were things that were purely stored on your phone. And they're not just
Mhm.
photos. It's just photos were the big one that caught everybody's eye. But there were
Yeah.
voicemails and regular
Mhm.
documents and everything that resurfaced for people. So pay
Yeah,
attention and run your updates.
exactly. And at least one more thing I want to mention
Yeah,
too
go.
is the thing about the privacy, right? They were talking about, people having privacy concerns, and I think ultimately, once again, in this digital age that we live in, where we have 24-hour, news cycles and all these videos, everyone has a cell phone with a camera on it. All of this stuff's being recorded. It kind of makes it where, you know, privacy is a thing of the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Privacy is dead.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's one of those sad but true. Here we
Hmm.
go again, right? Um, Here's one of those new technology things. Michael and I started talking about this just before we went live. The
Oh,
electric salt spoon. So
this is the
this is a
first time.
real device, and as I've said on the show before, we don't talk about things that are going to be coming out. These
Mhm.
went on sale on May 20th.
Mhm.
Admittedly, they're only on sale in Japan. But I thought this was really interesting because one of the problems culturally for many people all around the world, not just Japanese citizens, is people like salt. They've conditioned themselves to like a higher level of salt than is recommended. And in
Yes.
fact, there was a nice little chart in here. Let's find it. There we go.
Mhm.
For males, they are more than double the recommended level of sodium in their food.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they've created this new electronic spoon, and there's a picture of it there. Tell me, Michael, what do you think about it? Having an electric spoon to solve your sodium problem?
Well, part of me is I'm not that big of a fan of it, because I think in the instructions where it talks about how it works, where it sends that weak electric current
Yeah.
to you when you put it on your tongue. So I'm always concerned about stuff like that. And at the same time, I do believe that there's room where if it could be beneficial to someone, that could be a good thing. I mean, you look at going back to that chart you were mentioning, where you're looking at just the salt content that people are consuming, and an example that you mentioned where males are consuming twice as much salt as they should consume.
Hmm.
And in the diagram that you have there, I want why is the target not 5 instead? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if it
Yeah.
should be
We're
5.
targeting 150, we're targeting 50% over, not eliminating it and getting it down. I know. Doesn't it feel like it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, I'm like, it's got multiple settings, so you can
Mhm.
change the current to be exactly how strong you need to tickle your taste buds and stop it from being
Mhm.
less salty.
Mhm.
I'm curious if this ever gets approved in the United States.
Yeah, yeah, and ultimately, like the article talked about, it's just very, very challenging for people to break the salt habit.
Yeah.
It is inundated in so much of what we consume, and it's just
Yeah.
very difficult. People are, almost addicted to it.
It is. It is. You're right. Exactly right. It's like an addiction. It's trying to figure out what it is and why and how can you control it. Obviously, the best way to control it is to do your own cooking. Don't consume fast foods,
Yes.
processed foods, et cetera, but that's a different show.
Yes.
We have one more topic to cover.
Okay, what you got next?
That is Taylor Swift is immune to copyright problems. The article is a little confusing, I will admit, because basically they're saying copyright restricts people's interest in creating more stuff, because once you've got copyright and it's locked in and you've got that stream of funding, so to speak, you don't create new stuff.
Yeah,
Taylor Swift just keeps on breaking the loop, and keeps creating and keeps creating and keeps building and making.
Yeah, I was talking about how, like, if the copyright is dialed up too high, where it actually has that, like you said, that opposite effect, where they believe that it's led to less creativity. And so I like how I talked about the Beatles, and how the Beatles recorded so many albums in a short period of time, and they think that if the copyright would have been so high, then they would have probably recorded less albums. They talked about Bob Dylan. He released like 15 albums in like a 13-year period of time. And that is a lot of albums. That is a lot of original content that's being created there. And also what's interesting about that, I mean, he was doing it in the 60s and 70s, and it was probably a much, much longer process to put together an album back then.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing. You would expect that it took longer to do. And I mean, the Beatles putting out 8 years, they did 12 studio albums and 4 films in the course of 8 years. So they did take that time and go out and tour and do all the things. Whereas modern musicians, for the most part, are not doing that. But and some of the discussion that I've had with this on Facebook and some other places, and one of our commenters here, saying that copyright's there to protect others from stealing or using something. And that's very much how the original copyright laws were meant, was to incentivize people to create. You are protected for a certain amount of time so that you can gain any rewards from it. But then it goes away and it becomes anyone can use it to do anything with. And now it seems that, and the article gets into a bunch of this, and I do really encourage people to go in and read this, because it's not, they talk about how copyright is not supposed to be meaning to provide support for the artists financially. It's supposed to be supporting the artists intellectually. And it seems to have been twisted over the last few years. It's a good conversation to be having with people.
Yes. And then also not being, in the industry, just, reading the article, going through, the things in the article, you're taking it for what it is. And I'm pretty sure there's other people who are on the other side of the fence. But it was just interesting to see how in the article it talked about recommending, instead of having this copyright last for this long period of time, making the copyright where it's a shorter period of time, where the artist just has an opportunity to recoup his or her cost. As a, and that's when the copyright will expire, when the artist just recoups his or her cost. But then the question is, how are you measuring the cost?
And if you're doing it in streams on Spotify, where they get paid a fraction of a penny, per stream, or people who publish on YouTube, how do you quantify those things? It's a complicated thing. We could do a 2-hour show just on that.
It is, and I'm pretty sure you can bring people together who are all over the spectrum on what's the right thing to do.
It would be interesting. We know what the right thing to do is here, though. Summer learning.
Yes, exactly. And we are mentioning it again. We mentioned it earlier. Broward County Library is going into our summer learning program. It starts in June and it runs through midpoint through August. And this is a great opportunity for everyone in Broward County to get involved with the library, the entire family. We want adults, children, teenagers. We want everyone to go visit your library, to register for the summer learning program. One of the greatest things that we can do as adults is to set the example with our children, to have them see us reading, have them see us engaging in the library where everyone is welcome. So once again, everyone, please go out to your Broward County Library and register for the summer learning program this coming June. Thank you.
We've got Book Fest, not this
Mhm.
Saturday, but next Saturday, June 1st, up at the Northwest Regional Library. We're all going to be up there working on stuff, getting people entertaining, doing some fun things. We got Creation Station stuff. We got Creation Station Science up there. We're going to have all sorts of cool things out there working, and everyone can enroll for prizes. Do you want to give them a sneak preview there, Michael? Give them one thing that they might be able to win as a grand prize.
Well, actually, the grand prize is for adults. We have a beautiful hammock. It's a Broward County Library branded hammock. You can win this hammock, set it up in your backyard under the shady tree, and enjoy a nice, relaxing day in your backyard. And it has some lemonade.
A library hammock is a very Florida thing.
Yes, yes. We were trying to stick with the theme.
Yeah. No, it's an awesome thing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, Michael. Let's
You're
throw
very
up
welcome.
our
Very welcome.
slide here.
Mhm.
As always, if there's a librarian or a library you'd like to see featured on the show one week, reach out, creationstation@broward.org, and go hit subscribe. We'll see everybody next week.